Hey, what's up?
Stuff.
Yeah. Um, I'm reading your thing. So,
All right, let me know when you're done.
here, what does the first one say? Is because it's like covered by
It
like all
says
this stuff.
evolution is true.
Okay, I believe that.
Cool.
The Big Bang happened. I believe that. The God hypothesis is useless. I disagree with that. Earth is billions of years old. I agree. Science is humanity's best achievement. Well, no, yeah. Earth isn't flat. I agree. Your friend is equal to anyone's. It depends. And debate Jordan says, okay. Well, I mean, I pretty much agree with all of them except like the God one and the one about science and
What do you
debate.
think is our best achievement?
I mean, I don't think we have like one best one. I think there's a lot of good like achievements that we've done. I guess it's a little bit biased, so that's why. Like, I don't want to say there's just one big achievement. I think there's a lot.
Okay. Would you put science in the top five?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Of course.
Works for
Probably in
me.
the top three. Okay. Um, the one about God, the thing is that I think God is like the standard for morality. Um,
Why?
because without God, and if morality is just subjective, then if we get into like the meta ethics, I could just
How
like
is
we could just go
how
back
is
and forth about like
okay? Do you agree with this statement? If God doesn't exist, then murder is not wrong.
if I'm looking at it from a subjective perspective, I could definitely say that, yes. Because if
But
it's just
that
subjective
is
morality,
subjective. If it's only wrong because God says so, that's subjective. If it's wrong by
no, that's
definition,
subjective.
then it's not really subjective, unless you want to
So then you
argue
don't believe
that
it.
words don't mean anything and we just make them all up. Then
Well, here's what I'm trying to say. If there's no God to make that objective statement, um, at the end of
how
the
is it
day,
an object? Okay, but if it's an objective statement, then God isn't the standard because it's objectively true in the first place.
yeah, that's because morality is a part of his nature.
Okay, so God is defined as a being, one of which's characteristics are good morality. That still means that morality is outside of God.
No, it's not because it's a part of him. It's always existed with him. It's one of his like traits, like logic, for example.
If it's
Logic.
one of his traits, then it doesn't come from him. It's part of his nature, which means we don't require a God for it.
I'm losing you there.
If God is a being that is defined as, if morality is part of what defines God's nature, then it's descriptive of God. We don't require God to give it to us.
Okay, so then if there's no God, how would you be able to say that your morality is worth more than, let's say, um, the Rudolph guy and his perspective on unaliving the Jews? How do you like prove that your morality is better?
Rudolph. Interesting.
That's just how I call it, like because we can't use his
Yeah,
name. So
I've never heard anybody call it that before. Um, so it would depend on, I suppose, what your goals are. If you think that, if, well, first of all, everything he believed in was completely irrational and false. So if you're going to build a foundation like a meta ethics or some sort of, uh, or whatever, I guess, based upon things that are literally untrue, then how could you say that that in any sense is right or good? I don't think that that makes any sense. So, where do we get this sense of where could morality come from? I think that rational minds are perfectly capable of understanding what are and what are not uh, good moral actions to take. Um, so I don't think it requires a god.
if that's the case, then how do you explain inserting? cultures where they practice parricide.
How do I explain it?
Yeah, like because in their worldview, right? You know what parricide is?
Uh, no. Killing of something.
Parricide is the unaliving of one's parents once they're elderly, and they believe that that's morally good.
Okay.
So if morality is not like a well, first of all, let me ask: do you believe in like the natural law theory at least
I don't know what that
from
means.
Archimedes? Natural law is pretty much saying that all humans have universal instinctively good values. Like all human beings are born with those values, with those morals. Um, I just want to know if you like agree with that, because if not,
I
then
think that
what
there's
I'm gonna ask you
something
doesn't.
like that intrinsic in all of us. Yeah, I mean, even animals have a sense of what we would consider fairness. Like it's been observed in them. What is going on?
Okay, so then you do hold on to the natural law theory.
Could be.
Okay. Well, then again, like
So
that's one
I.
of the things
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
with cultures that practice such things like parricide. If morality is all like all human beings have this universal, instinctively like good values, then why is it that some cultures view acts as parricide like morally good or you know
I think that they have different values and some are better than others. While I don't think that Parasite is good, is it better than everybody killing everybody? Yeah, I guess. I guess technically it would be better than that, right? My question would be, what if God told them to do it? Then would it be correct?
well we would have to get into like the principle of like within within like the natural law theory there's something called like POD and how we determine whether an action was
It's really just a yes
morally
or no question.
permissible. Well, it's because it's not really like a yes or no question because then
It is.
like it really isn't.
You can say yes, no, or I
So
don't know. It's really a yes or no question.
I, my answer is
How
it
am I
depends on the
getting
situation.
trolled by this many accounts? This is insane. Sorry.
I don't know. No, you're good. But like, let me ask you, like for example, in a situation, I want to view like your moral standard of it. So
I
let's say that,
yes, no, or I don't know.
well, that's because I want to like get to understand your morals, because
No,
like
I'm asking you about
your perspective on
yours.
morality. Because
Yes, no, or you don't know.
I don't know. It depends.
Okay. It depends on what.
It depends on the purpose.
So you think that morality is subjective. There might be a
No,
reason why it would be okay to do that. So
no, morality is
you can't
objective.
commit to the idea that it is wrong.
Unaliving is wrong.
All is it always wrong?
Yes.
Okay, so then the Passover was wrong because children that weren't guilty of anything were killed.
Okay, sure. I mean, if that's yeah,
Okay, well, who killed all the firstborn children?
men,
No,
humanity. Yes.
no.
Who killed all the firstborn children?
The spirit of the Lord.
Physically killed the children or commanded men to
Yeah,
kill the
no,
children?
God killed all. Have you read Exodus?
Yes. You're telling me God
So
physically killed the children?
the Hebrews, they put, well, I don't know if you could technically call them Hebrews at this point, but they put lamb's blood above the eaves on their doors, and that meant that blank would pass over their house and not kill their firstborn. What goes in the blank?
Could be a lot of things.
No, we know what it is. And
I'm
you
not
know what
assuming
it
it's the
is.
spirit of the Lord. No, it could be. It could have honestly been God commanded people to do it. And I mean, not everything is in the Bible, you know.
No, that's not what it says. It says that the Lord, God, passed over them and chose not to kill the firstborn if they put the lamb's blood above the eave on their door. So God killed all of the firstborn children in Egypt.
Can you read me the biblical verse?
I'm not reading you one of probably the 10 most well-known stories on planet Earth. I'm not doing that.
And I've heard about the Passover. I'm just asking you if you could read it so that I could like read the
And I
context
and
of it.
I'm not going to do that.
What's
Who
the verse?
flooded the world and killed every person except Noah and his family?
God flooded the world. Well, it wasn't all the
And
world,
killed
but it was
everybody on the planet except Noah and his family.
God.
So that was wrong.
No.
You said killing is wrong.
Yes. I mean, if you're gonna ask open-ended questions, like
Oh, that's
we
your
can, like that's the
that's
thing
your
though. Like
logic.
that. No, that's the thing. It's because like I'm answering your open-end, like
Yeah,
your
you're
close-ended
answering the
questions. But
questions, but you're
if you want to like
contradicting
ask,
yourself.
because that's because the questions you're asking are close-ended. But if you actually allow for reasoning to go about, then you can get a different answer, and we could definitely talk about it and
Then you
stuff. But I
don't
feel like you're
believe in
being
objective
intellectually
morality.
dishonest.
Yeah, then the reason I'm asking
Yes,
these
I
questions
do.
is to test the idea of whether or not you believe in objective morality. And you don't.
Okay, so let me ask you then: is unaliving always wrong?
Unaliving? No. In self-defense, it's perfectly justified. Do you mean murder?
Yeah, but I heard that we're not allowed to call it murder on the TikTok live.
I
If
don't
you're okay with
care.
me saying murder, okay, okay. So murder is not always wrong.
I didn't say that.
So murder is always wrong.
Yeah, sure. Now, do we know what murder is? It's just defined, I
Intentionally,
believe, as the intentional, wrongful
yeah.
killing of an innocent person.
Okay, there you go. So that's murder, and you saying murder is always wrong.
Yeah, and God has murdered people.
Okay, so and a man comes into your house, and the only option you have is to murder him. Otherwise, he murders you and your family. What do you
Yeah,
do?
that's self-defense. It's not murder. Somebody is aggressing against you. It is you are not
What was
innocent. You don't have to wait until you've been killed to to defend yourself against somebody.
what was your purpose in that situation?
Could you ask a question that makes sense?
Someone breaks Right. So someone breaks into your house, and the only option you have is to murder them. So what's your intention? Is
Self-defense
your
is
intention to
not
murder them?
self-defense is not murder. I know that you know that, and I actually explained that
Uh,
before you asked this question, so I don't know why you're asking this question.
right, because in morals, again, people have gotten on court for self-defense, and they still go to jail because it all depends on the situation. So you see how the context matters. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. If if your only option is to murder him, then that means that the
That's not what it
purpose.
is. Self-defense is not murder.
I know, but that's what I'm trying to tell you. If your only
No, you
option is to
don't know because you are saying that it is. So
no, self-defense is not murder.
stop saying that self-defense is murder. Stop doing it.
Self-defense is not murder.
In the words of Michael
Self-defense is
Jordan,
not murder.
stop it.
Well, self-defense is not murder. But
There
I'm
we
trying to
go.
explain to you my point. If the only option you have is to take that course of action, that's like the purpose. It's self-defense, so it's not murder. But if there is something else that you could have done, right? This is what how they decide in court whether you go to jail or not. Then if there is something else you could have done, then they count it as murder, and that's how people go to jail. So that's why like, that doesn't matter. What I'm trying to
Possibly,
say,
I would guess that maybe manslaughter charges would apply in a lot of those as well.
right?
Funny enough, the Bible actually says what you're supposed to do if you unintentionally kill somebody.
The purpose of that was just to show that the context matters. So if you're gonna ask close-ended questions, I
The
mean, I'm gonna
context is
answer you.
used to determine whether or not murder has occurred, not whether or not murder is right or wrong.
Okay. So then, what do you call it when the only option you have in self-defense is to do that? You
Self
call it
defense
self-defense. You say, I self-defense. I self-defended myself by doing what?
by killing somebody in self defense. You know that
Okay.
song by Bob
Yeah.
Marley?
No.
I shot the sheriff.
Nope.
Okay, well, whatever.
Okay. Well, I'm saying in both situations, whether you intentionally murder someone or you do it in self-defense, the outcome is the same. Someone died, a human being died. But because of the
Yep.
context, we can justify that in one of the situations, the
Oh,
killing.
why are you doing this? Why are you trying to say that when you don't murder somebody, it's not murder, therefore murder can be subjectively correct? Stop
What?
confusing the terms.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yes, it is.
No, you're just not
When somebody
understanding.
dies, it may be right or it may be wrong. Yeah, but we're only talking about is murder wrong. And you keep up bringing examples that aren't murder. So stop doing that. If you the next time you do it, I'm getting rid of you because you don't know how to have a
That,
conversation.
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that in
Yes, it is
self-defense,
what you're saying. It's
no.
exactly what you're saying. You're saying you've brought up these situations where murder doesn't occur to try to somehow prove that it's subjective whether or not murder is wrong. Except your examples aren't murder.
How old are
Jeebus
you, bro?
crispy. Old enough to party.
Bro, I guess. Well, that's why I said the word killing. That's why I said in both situations, a human being was killed. But because of the context, because context matters, we can justify why in one of the
Yep, you're
situations
literally
it's
incapable
self-defense.
of sticking on a topic of murder being the only thing we're talking about because you keep talking about things that aren't murder.
I
So,
didn't even
goodbye.
mention the word murder.
Goodbye. Oh, hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Hi. Oh, there's a video thing. Can the, okay. I'm sorry, I'm not sure exactly how to do the connect on lives. I don't know if that's just the picture or the audio. Is that okay?
I can see you, yes.
Okay, cool. So, I just jumped in your live, I don't know, probably 30 minutes ago or so, so I've only heard the annoying conversation you had with the last guy. Um, but I uh I think that you're a very knowledgeable individual, and so I would like to have a conversation with you based off of the topics that you're talking about right now, because I actually study religion, I study science, and I study history. Now I can't call myself like a theologian because I've only been studying for 5 years and I don't have a degree in it, so I can't call myself a theologian. But these are topics of study that I've been doing for the last 5 years that I quite enjoy, and I feel like maybe we could have a little bit more of an in-depth, better conversation than the roundabout ring around the rosy that just happened. So
Uh, I mean,
I
the
hope.
standard is very low. So,
So the first thing was that the gentleman who was just on was talking about the genociding of parents in certain cultures who um, who kill their parents. Now I'm not part of one of those cultures. I'll start off by saying that, but there is a moral standard and a reasoning for why they do what they do. Now, to us, because morals can be subjective, um, to us, some people say, "Oh no, that's not right because you're killing somebody." However, if you were to speak to the people in those, how do I say this? In the gap of 70s and 80s and 90s, older generations, it's not just, hey, now that you've reached a certain age, we're going to pop a cap in you and you're dead. It's not like that. What it actually is, it's mercy killings. And that is for people who are of old age and some of young age as well, who have terminal diseases that are going to, well, for lack of a better word, wipe them out, and in a very disheartening way. And they have the choice of, do you wait around to go on terms that you don't want to go out on, or do you go out on your own terms? So, for instance, in cultures where they do kill older generations, they don't go to them and go, oh, you're 70 years old now, we're going to kill you off. They go to them and they go, how is your health? Where are you standing in your health right now? Is this something where this is part of what you would want to have happen, or is this something that you'd be passed on to for the next year? And not that I'm trying to be political or get anybody on your stream pissed off, but we kind of do that in the United States as well. And bear with me when I say this. When you look at, let's say, COVID, right, and how many people die from COVID, right, it's less than 2% of people. It's somewhere between 1% and 1.7% of people who die from COVID. However, if you look further into the statistics of it, you'll find that there is a huge percentage of that 1%, believe it or not, that are actually, well, they were going to die this year at some point anyway, because they're older generation and because they're just not in the same health that they used to be in. Another big percentage of that 1% is actually people who are terminally ill, and that had they caught COVID or had they caught the flu, either way, they would have died. And so while it's not the same thing as going to somebody and saying, okay, you're in bad health, we're going to kill you now, we do have other things that are quite like that, as far as people who live in different areas of the country who choose to, well, you have cancer and you're going to die in a really horrible way, so they choose to unalive themselves, I think is what we're supposed to be using, that word. They choose to do that by taking a supplement that is a drink, much like euthanasia that we use on animals and that we use in prison systems and stuff. All it is a drink that they choose to do themselves that helps them to go to sleep and not wake back up, so they don't have to continuously deal with the pain. So I just wanted to get that out of the way first before we do our conversation, so that way maybe that helps that gentleman to understand if he's still in your live and if he has any questions about that. But the second thing that you were talking about with him, or at least whenever I jumped in, the other thing was murder and the Passover and slaughtering of the Egyptian children and so on and so forth. And when we look at murder and we look at that term, now even in the Bible it tells us not to murder, but it does tell us exactly what murder is, and that's the unlawful killing. For one reason or another, it's unlawful. It shouldn't have been done. And because it shouldn't have been done, that's what makes it murder. And having self-defense, of course, is not murder. That's not murder at all. But I want to go back to where you had said something about, did God murder the Egyptian children during Passover? So I myself, when I first read these scriptures, when I first read the Old Testament, I can't tell you how many times during the time I've been reading the Old Testament that I've sat back and cried, because I thought to myself, how wrong was that to have happened? Because that's not the only time during the Old Testament that things like that did happen. There were times whenever soldiers were supposed to go out and they were supposed to kill everything in those villages, and it didn't matter. And the murdering of innocent children and so on and so on and so on happened quite a few times. And that being said, I'm going to go with this. Now, when God killed the firstborns of the Egyptians during Passover, was it murder? Some, I guess, would say yes, because we are on the mindscape of, we're people, right? And so we have objectives of, is this right? Is this wrong? Hi, handsome. Is this right? Is this wrong? Orange car. Oh, I don't know where your orange car is, handsome. So we say, okay, we say this is wrong or this is right because we have an objective view of it, right? Now, we could say that the Passover was wrong simply because we believe that that was murder and murder is wrong. However, there are other people who could say, no, it wasn't wrong because it wasn't murder. Well, why wasn't it murder? It becomes the question. And the reason why
Well,
it wasn't,
causing somebody to die, even if it's not murder, can be wrong.
well, that's true, but that's also a subjective view of things, which again is a finite thing because we are finite humans. And we can't put God in the same category as being finite because, well, he's not. If he was finite, then why would we worship him? He would be like us, he would be like everybody else. So there would be no point in worshiping somebody that's identical to you or myself. It's kind of like the same thing when people say, oh, God knows who you were before you were born and what your plans to do in life is and everything else like that, right? People say that all the time, but it's because they don't understand what the meaning of that really is. Because God is outside of space and time. So when it's said that he
But
knows
so is
who we
Satan.
are, yes. And so kind of sort of to a degree, yes, because he is technically one of the fallen of the angels, right? When we look at like biblical terms, he was the best and the brightest, and he was God's perfect creation who was casted out of heaven. Okay, so we say that he is not human by any means, but he is an angel, right? Or a fallen angel, whatever you want to call him. I guess everybody has different terms for that. Um, is he as good as God? Well, if we go with what the Bible says, then no. He is one of God's children, not in the same aspect as we are, because we're a different type of finite creation than he is. But that's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, then shouldn't we know more about Satan himself? And we can, by studying history and stuff like that and studying different theologies and stuff, we can study about who he was as an individual. I won't say a person because he's not a person, but
Okay, I don't actually care to talk about the devil necessarily.
oh,
I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I had a
I'm
point, but we're
sorry.
getting really far away from it. You got to make your argument.
Okay, sorry. So then I'll just go ahead and start with this one. Okay, so whenever I jumped in your live stream and stuff and started watching you, I read your whatever that is at the top. Is that just something that you put up, or is that a
Yeah.
banner? Like it's just something that you typed up?
Yep.
Okay. So where it says evolution is true, the Big Bang Theory happened, all that stuff. That's what I'm talking about. So I wanted to ask you, because it says the Big Bang Theory happened, the Big Bang happened. I wanted to ask you if that is something that you personally believe in, or is that just, did you make that yourself? I guess is what that comes down to. Did you make that yourself, the banner?
Yes.
Okay. So then you believe the Big Bang Theory happened.
Yes.
Okay. That kind of makes it a little bit more understandable. You know who was the father of the Big Bang Theory, correct?
Yeah, Georges Lemaitre.
Say that again?
Georges Lemaitre.
Yes. Okay, so you know who he was then.
Yeah, he
You
was
know
a
about him and who he
physicist.
was. And he was also a Catholic priest.
Yeah.
So when one of my
He,
things is,
he was also a guy.
yes, he was also a guy,
He was
but he was
also
also,
Belgian.
yeah, but he was a
He was
Catholic
also white.
priest.
He was
Yes,
also straight. But nobody would say that straight white Christian European males are like, nobody would say that that's like, an
there's nothing
identifier of
wrong with
importance or anything. Nobody would ever say that.
what. Why would you say it's not important?
Okay, so are you saying that the reason he discovered it is because he's Catholic?
No. By no means am I saying he discovered it because he's Catholic. He
Then why
discovered
is
it
it important?
because you're using an argument that he believed was spoken into existence from God. So my question is, why are you using the Big Bang
No.
Theory?
Okay. The Big Bang Theory was discovered by using the scientific method.
Mm-hmm. And who was originally the developer of that? Who was the father of that? George,
Of
right? Okay.
of the
But
scientific method?
no, of the Big Bang Theory.
So the fact that he was a Christian has nothing to do with the fact that he discovered it. Because he wasn't doing theology when he discovered it. You give a trillion Catholics a trillion Bibles, and you give them a trillion years to read that thing, and no mathematical description about the expansion of the universe will come out of that book.
Of what book?
The Bible.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be working on this at the same time. Did you just say that there's nothing biblically correct that goes with science?
I said if you give them all the time in the world to read that Bible, no mathematical model of an expanding universe will come out of it.
What makes you say that?
Because there's no science or math in that book.
That's not true.
The Big Bang was discovered by doing the scientific method, not by reading the Bible. Georges Lemaitre, at no point to try to figure out if his data is correct, opened a Bible and said, does this comport with what's written in here? Because first of all, that would be confirmation bias. Science is supposed to be secular and depersonalized. That's the
Right.
only good way to be objective. But yeah, no, well, anyways, what's your argument?
Oh, that wasn't an argument. I was asking if you actually believed in the Big Bang Theory and asking you if you knew who it
Yeah,
was who
because of the
actually.
science, not because of the Bible.
Okay. You said that there is nothing, if you gave people hundreds of years to read the Bible, there's nothing consecutive that would be mathematical or scientific that proved the Bible's existence or God's existence or anything else like that.
Not even close to what I said. I said you would never get a mathematical model of the expansion of the universe out of it.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
The Big Bang Theory. So, like the Hubble-Lemaitre law, which tells us the rate at which galaxies retreat away from us is proportional to the distance. The facts of the dimensions of the observable universe.
Okay.
What things in space even are. I mean,
Okay.
there's
You
none of
think
that in the
that's,
Bible. To me, this is like when
but there
people say
is,
that
but that is in the
Leviticus
Bible.
actually talks about like germs in medicine because it has stuff about uncleanliness, but that's wildly stupid.
Okay, but those things are mentioned in the Bible. In fact, they are
What
mentioned
things?
mathematical equations that actually explain the universe and how it works. It is mentioned in the Bible. In fact, hold on. It is actually mentioned in one book of the Bible, and because of the fact that it didn't compute with how Roman Catholics were wanting to be able to actually disguise the Bible in order to make an organized religion the way they wanted it to have people follow in the rules the way they wanted to, they took it out of the Bible. But I'm assuming that you're a smart man and you've read the book of Enoch, yes?
No.
You definitely should, because there are still Bibles that do include the book of Enoch, and the book of Enoch was considered biblically inspired until just a few years before King James himself said, "Hey, let's put a Bible together." When there's quite a few books that were taken out that were part of the scrolls that were original, because of course we know the Bible wasn't originally a book, it was scrolls. One of those scrolls was the book of Enoch. And if you'll read that, you'll see that actually one of the biggest things about the book of Enoch is that it is mathematically and scientifically based. But because,
Give me an example.
okay, sure. Let me see. I'm going to make sure that. Okay. I don't want to be the person who says, "Hey, this is what it says," and me completely fuck it up with not having it exact. So I'll look this one up for you. Okay. So for one of the things is like a lot of people who are like flat earthers that believe the earth is flat, right? Well, one of the things is that in the book of Enoch, Enoch actually appeals to the book to the flat earthers, telling them that the earth itself is a sphere. It's round. It's not flat, right? Which because of this, it's one of the reasons why the book was actually taken out of the Bible, because back whenever the Bible was written and put into commission, it was one of those things where most people still believe that the earth was flat. A
That
lot of people
has
didn't believe that
never
Christopher Columbus
that
had
has
actually.
never been the case.
Oh no, a lot of people have back before Christopher Columbus. A
We
lot of
have
people actually believed in the
no
earth being flat.
there are so little data that support the idea that ancient people thought the earth was flat. I mean, they could look up and see that the moon is not flat. For what reason would they think the earth is flat? And for millennia, people have been
It's
able to
because they called
calculate
it Earth,
people have been able to calculate their latitude on the earth for millennia, which if the earth is flat, you can't do that.
right?
It's geometrically impossible.
So the people that believed that the Earth were flat, like we call them flat earthers, right? The entire belief that the Earth was flat came from the word Earth in its original sense. The word Earth means a flat plane of existence. That's why quite a few different um, quite a few different people used to believe that the Earth was flat. And of course, we know that that's not the case anymore, which is kind of why it's confusing why some people still believe that. But it is,
I don't think that that's true at all.
yeah, go ahead. Just Google it real quick.
To, the Earth, from what I've understood, comes from terra, which just means ground.
So, terra is in the Latin sense, yes?
Yes, which is
Okay.
where English comes from.
Well,
So, what word are
it's
you
where
talking? Are you
most
talking about the
languages
word
come
Earth? Or are you
from.
talking about a different word?
No, 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 no. We're talking about Earth itself. The thing about Latin is that Latin is the foundational root of all languages almost, and then you have to actually translate over. I mean, you have Latin, you have
That's such
Aramaic,
an
and you have
insane statement.
no. There's quite a few languages that we use abruptly all the time that originally stimulate from the Latin
There are
phrases.
6,000 languages spoken in Papua New Guinea, and none of them are Latin based.
No, none of those are Latin based. No, but did I say that every single language was Latin based, or did I
You
say that
said
there was a
most
large
languages,
I said that
which
there's
is
a large
not at
amount.
all
There's definitely
true.
a large amount. There's definitely a large amount.
It's not
But
most. It's nowhere close to
I
most.
also started to say that Aramaic is one that is not originally rooted in Latin. I started to say that, but before I could finish the sentence, you jumped in on that. I was literally about to list different languages that weren't rooted in Latin, but
We don't disagree that some languages aren't. You said most, which is very wrong.
okay, I'm so sorry for saying most. I'll be more
That's fine.
careful with my wording with you. A lot of languages are Latin based. They're rooted in Latin. A lot
Yep.
of them aren't too. If that makes you feel any better, I won't say most. But Earth is actually one. Earth is actually a word. And if you Google it real quick, you'll see. Here, I'll Google it for you. Um, we'll just do meaning. There we go.
You're not talking about the word planet and the root of the word planet being plane, are you?
No, I don't believe
Okay,
so.
good.
I don't think so. Here, I might be, but I don't think so. Will you give me 2 seconds and let me look? I actually have a in my study Bible, and I can look and see. This was a study we did last week, but I can look and see really quick. I might be wrong. I might be thinking about the word planet, not Earth. 2 seconds.
One Mississippi, two Mississippi. Hey, for those of you that are here, join the go to my profile. There's a link there. Join the mailing list. I got merch that'll come out hopefully soon, and my book. The book publication date got pushed back a little bit, but Guys, I'm not moving on. This is way too much fun. Study Bibles are good. I mean, they probably make different versions, but like if you want to try to be like academic towards the Bible, study Bibles are good ideas. What's up?
Yeah, there's a lot of really good, lot of good study Bibles out there. Give me 2 seconds. Oh my God. Spreadsheet coming.
I'm laughing at the comments section. I'm just reading comments since you were gone.
How do you have time to do that?
To read the comments?
Yeah, don't you have like a lot of people that follow you? I would see like that just jumping.
It's, I don't know. You don't see all of them, but you do what you can.
Touche. Okay.
Can we like actually talk about something while you try to find this source? Is that going to be
No, I'm so sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
so let's go back to the Big Bang and Georges Lemaitre being Catholic. My biggest point is, so what? People historically argued that women can't do science and that other races are inferior because they didn't play a part in the historical development of science. But it wasn't because of something intrinsic to them. It was because the systems were obviously biased against certain groups. So when you say that his Catholicism had anything to do with it, I think that the logic, like I could employ that logic to make those kinds of arguments too. But I mean, I never would, but you can. I think the logic is absurd.
I didn't use it as why he believed that. Minoc. I didn't use him being a Catholic priest as to why he having anything to do with why he believed in the
Okay,
Big
so
Bang
then
Theory.
why bring it up then?
Because a lot of people, whenever they have something about the Big Bang Theory, don't know who he was. And it's one of those things where it's like, once they find out that he was a Catholic priest, they're like, oh, well, maybe that the Big Bang Theory doesn't actually exist. Maybe that's not really a true thing, yada, yada, yada. In fact, there was a guy a couple of weeks ago who he said that that NASA had done an experiment or something that disproved the Big Bang Theory. I looked that up for a couple of days and I never found anything on that.
Yeah, it's I hear it
But a
all the
lot of
time. It's
people,
all a bunch of make
whenever
believe.
they say Big Bang Theory and then they say, uh, yeah, I say, hey, you know that was a Catholic priest, right? They're like, oh, well, then he was wrong.
Well, if there are people that are saying that, it's because they're deeply entrenched in tribal beliefs, and that's quite unfortunate. But I mean, I do these science lives quite regularly, and do you know what the number one reason why people say they don't believe in evolution or the Big Bang? Do you know what the number one reason is?
Why?
Because it doesn't agree with the Bible.
See, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I disagree that it doesn't agree.
Well, yeah, so do a lot of other people that are religious, but it is the number one reason why people don't believe in those things.
I think if somebody was to say that they don't believe in the theory of evolution, the Bible actually does talk about evolution, so I don't know why they would think that. Now, does the Bible say, oh, we came from apes or fish or anything else like that? No, absolutely not. But that we change that we evolve as our generations change, it absolutely does talk about that. So I think for
Where?
somebody to use, and most of the Old Testament where it talks about so and so begot so and so begot so and so begot so and so, right? Um, it will literally talk about like okay, like for Moses, right? When God flooded the earth and made it so that way nobody was alive besides, or so we say, nobody was alive besides Moses and his family, right? I mean, Noah and his family, not Moses. Noah and his family, right? We say that. We say that he flooded the whole earth and killed all these people and yada, yada, yada. But we don't have, oh my God, hold on. I can't do, I just went back to Genesis to go to Noah. Ugh, hold on. We'll do that one in a second. Let me go back over here to Haysog because that was where I was at. Hey, God, here we go. Okay, let's go back to the planet one, or the Earth one really quick. And you're right, it's planet, not Earth. It's planet, not Earth. Sorry, we literally did this Bible study last week.
Okay.
We literally did it last week, so.
The root of the word planet is not
Yes.
plane.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I thought was going to happen. That is not the root of the word planet. Planet means wanderer. That's why we call it plankton, because they just simply drift around in
And
the ocean.
floors.
Planets are called planets because ancient people thought they were stars, but they move around during the night, unlike the stars. I mean, the stars rotate, but in unison, planets don't do that. So let's just get away from that one because that's
Wait,
not
hold on,
super.
but hold on, because I'm not a flat earther. I don't believe the earth is flat or anything else like that. But what I am saying though is that because there is a root for the term planet that does mean flat. Now, it may not be the original Latin, but there is a term for planet that does mean flat in other languages. And this particular reasoning is why there were some cultures that believed the earth was flat. That is correct. That is why a lot of certain cultures a long time ago believed that the earth was flat.
Okay. Well, whatever. What were we talking
And
about?
we're
Evolution in the Bible.
reiterating.
So the Bible says that God created from the earth animals that will reproduce after their own kind. That is what anti-evolutionists say. The Bible concretely says that to disprove the idea that species can change over time. But the Bible also says loony stuff like what is it? Something about how you can create a striped animal if you put it in water with if you pour something in it, they'll give birth to striped animals, which is a very Lamarckian and obviously false thing, which we know not to be true.
So I don't know where exactly that's at in the Bible. I would love to read about that though, because I just started doing Bible study and stuff a few years ago, and about 2, I guess, is when I actually picked up the Bible itself and started reading it. And I have probably 7 or 8 books that I haven't read, but out of what I have read, I have never read anything like that. Do you know where it's at? Because that's something
Yeah, let me
kind of
find
weird,
it.
kind of cool. I'd love to study on.
So this says he placed the peeled branches in all the watering troughs so they would be directly in front of the flocks when they came to drink. And the animals are... What animals are we talking about? Flocks of... I think they're cow. Oh, goats. Goats. When the flocks were in heat and came to drink, they mated in front of the branches, and they bore young that were streaked or speckled or spotted. So, if you
Where
put
is
Genesis chapter 30.
Genesis chapter 30? Okay.
Yeah, so you're going to have to look into that on your own. But what in the Bible supports the idea that species change over time?
I think that I'm gonna say that is actually in Daniel. Let me Google real quick so that way I can go flip right to it. So we're not trying to go through freaking 2,000 pages to try to find it. Okay. Okay. Right here. Okay, so you're talking about right here, and not 30 Genesis, but you're talking about in Genesis where it's talking about each animal is made after their kind.
Yeah, they bring forth after their own kind. Yeah.
So, quick question, because I don't think I'm really understanding the logic on this. So maybe you can help me to understand that. But why would that mean that they don't change over time? Because if it's after their
At
kind
one
and their kind is constantly changing, why would that mean they couldn't change?
So that's a good question for somebody that doesn't believe in evolution, right? Um, that their interpretation of that is, you listen to idiots like Kent Hovind, and they say dogs always produce dogs, whales always produce whales. It wasn't the case that one day an amoeba turned into a human being. In order to believe that, you have to have billions of years and a religion, and the religion is called evolution. So you have to ask them why they think that that's the case.
Well, if we're taking exactly from what the Bible, what it says in Genesis about each animal coming after its own kind, it never says that the animal cannot change. That's not there. So somebody saying that it can't
So,
change wouldn't even be
well, yeah, I mean,
rooted in
like,
biblical meaning.
well, for example, at one point, no birds existed on this planet, and now they do.
Mm.
Now, what evolution teaches us is it's not the case that one day a non bird gave birth to a bird, but through reproduction, eventually the organisms we call birds began to exist, and their ancestors were not birds. So I don't think that that would count as reproducing after their kind. But we also have the problem that what the hell a kind is never described in any
Yeah,
kind of
that's a
scientific
very
detail.
thin line to tread on. I'm like not being rude or anything, but like that seems more like taking taking a scripture kind of out of context and then trying to like twist it to make it seem like it's one thing when it's not.
This isn't my argument. These are other people's arguments. You're going to have to ask them why they think that.
When you say other people, I'm assuming that you have someone in mind.
Well, all kinds of people. Well, Christians who don't believe in the Bible, that don't believe in evolution, right? Kent Hovind is a huge one. There are
Who is
hundreds of
that?
videos of him on YouTube if you wanna suffer.
If you want to suffer, he's that bad, huh? I don't actually know
He's
who that
awful.
is.
He's an actual moron. Yeah.
What is his name?
Kent Hovind.
Kent Hovind.
Yeah.
Is
Just
he he's not that guy who said like frogs or water makes frogs gay or something, right? He's not that guy, is
No,
he?
that's Alex Jones. I turn the freaking frogs gay. Yeah.
That made me laugh. I'd never seen him before until last week, and I was like, what the fuck did I just say? That was
Yeah.
hilarious. Okay, well, I don't think that in Genesis saying that they reproduce after their own kind would mean that they can evolve. I think as we go on, as we continue on in life, and through
Well, he
generation after
does,
generation,
right?
we
Like,
obviously evolve.
you're talking to me as if I don't believe in evolution. I do. So you're gonna have to ask
No,
somebody else why
I'm
they
sorry.
believe that.
That's not what I'm not meaning to talk to you that way. I just don't think that the Bible disproves evolution, and I don't think that that evolution disproves the Bible either. I actually think they
Well,
might go
I
hand
mean,
in hand.
I kind of think that it does. But
Could you
again,
explain?
if humans evolved, there was no Adam and Eve, meaning there was no original sin, meaning there was no reason for Jesus to have ever even existed.
Why cannot humans evolve from other humans that just looked different?
Because the Bible says that God created Adam and then he created Eve.
But he created Eve from Adam, and also in the Bible when it talks about
Yeah, I mean,
creation.
we know that's not. We know that didn't happen.
Well, it says from his curve, not from his rib. That's a totally different thing. That right there in itself is a mistranslation. He did not take a rib from him to create Eve. That's a total mistranslation. But another mistranslation also is the fact that, like a lot of, I've heard people say that in order for like maybe white people came from Adam and Eve and black people or Mexican people or whatever came from like other places or whatever. I've heard that theory, which doesn't necessarily make sense because the Old Testament was written in Hebrew, and there's two different forms for Adam, right? Like if we talk about in Genesis 1, whenever heaven and earth and everything's created, and he says, made them in our image, right? And he specifically gives a group of people to go out and do what they're supposed to do. And then he makes Adam, meaning one, not plural, not Adam, meaning plural, people, humans, but Adam, meaning one person whose name is Adam in the garden. So that whole we all maybe came from somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else. And
Yeah,
I
the
don't know if
Nephilim.
that actually
That's what a
adds
lot
up.
of them believe.
It's mistranslation and not wanting to look at your Bible and do actually study Hebrew. That's
You
mistranslation.
take it up with them.
Touche. But this is why I don't think that evolution disproves the Bible. So let me tell you, this is the reason why, right? When we're in Genesis 1 and he's talking about how everything was created, right, from the earth, right? Everything was created from the earth. The only difference between us and everything else that's created from the earth is that God actually breathed his breath into us, giving us life, right? That's the only difference mentioned in Genesis. Yes, we agree on that, right? It's the only difference mentioned in Genesis between us and plants and animals and yada yada, right?
I mean, God breathes the breath of life through the nostrils of Adam. He creates him. The animals and the plants
Yeah.
are created out of the dust of the earth. So
Right.
is Adam, but he's given that
Yes.
special. There's that special element of his creation.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But Adam himself is still created from the earth as well as everything else. Is the only thing that's different about people in general is that they
Yes.
are from
Yeah,
right, the
but
breath of the Lord.
that didn't happen.
Okay, but hold on. And I understand you totally believe that doesn't happen. I get that. But what I'm saying is, I don't think that evolution disproves that. Let me tell you why. We have the same DNA structure, cells, and stuff to a degree. We are a lot like a monkey, right? But we also share a very striking similarity in our genetic makeup as a mushroom as well.
Well, no, it's like a lot less than 50%.
We share a lot of these same traits for a mushroom. No, I think it's like 70 for a mushroom.
No,
Yeah.
it's much lower than that. I've talked to geneticists about this. It's much lower than that.
How much DNA do we share with a mushroom? I literally have no idea. I mean, I know that we do share some DNA strands. Don't know how much. A mushroom. I don't really think it matters though. I mean, the fact that we share any is kind of cool. Okay, so it's kind of cool that we share any regardless, right? But it would make sense that we would share more with, say, a monkey.
And
Right?
animals than mushrooms. Yes, that's
Yeah,
what the
right.
theory of
Because
evolution would
those
predict.
are other like
Yes.
they're not inanimate objects or something. They're walking
Yep.
around, breathing, and barking. You know what I mean? So it makes sense that we share some of the same or more of the same genetic makeup with them.
Barking.
Yeah? So here's the thing. The reason why I don't think that evolution disproves the Bible or vice versa, the Bible disproves evolution, is because evolution says that we come from this place, trace it all back, right? But we all come, animals, plants, humans, from something, and it's very strikingly similar, right? Because we all evolve over time, but we all come from the exact
It's
same
not.
thing.
They're not similar.
They're not similar, even though we share.
One proposes that humans were generated by spontaneous generation. The other proposes that humans were towards the end of a long line of 3.7 billion years of reproduction. They're so not similar.
What do you mean 3.7 billion years of reproduction? What do you mean?
Life appeared on this planet 3.7 billion years ago. Humans appeared on this planet probably only 250,000 years ago. So there's a 3.7 billion year gap between life and when life eventually gave rise to humans. But in the other story, it says dirt one day was turned into the first person, and then McRib, pronouns she her, was created from his rib or whatever, or his side or whatever. But that didn't happen, and the stories aren't similar. You can't just say, well,
I'm assuming that you're talking about the Bible in that aspect, where it says that in the very beginning, the humans were created, and you're saying that evolution said that there was time before humans were created. Is that what I'm understanding correctly?
Yes.
Okay, so why
I think.
Okay, so in Genesis 1, when it talks about in the beginning, it says, if you have like a King James version of the Bible, right? It says in the beginning, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
I've heard people say it's more accurately translated to in a beginning, when God began forming the heavens and the earth. Yeah. But this has nothing to do with where did humans come from. One claim is that humans have no organic predecessors. When did they get fabulous cowboy hats? One claim is that humans have no organic predecessors. The others that they do. These stories have virtually no similarities.
Okay, I can kind of sort of understand like where you're coming from when you say that they don't have any similarities. Allow me to point out where I think that they do. Is that okay? Okay, so first off, it's in a beginning, not in the beginning. Second off, when it talks about God resetting the face of the earth, the word to form in Hebrew, the original language for the Old Testament, form is to overthrow. So it means to overturn. So it means what he already had here has to be destroyed in order to make new for something else. That's Genesis 1, which I'll go ahead and go off on a limb here. I say that I highly believe that when it says in Genesis 1 that he had to overthrow the form, I think that that was dinosaurs. And I think that that's why dinosaurs went extinct. Highly do, because it was the overthrowing of what was already there. What was already there was the dinosaurs. He had already created them on the face of the earth.
Can I ask you a quick question? Where did you learn Hebrew?
I've been studying it for the past probably 5 months, 4 months. There's a biblical study for Hebrew on YouTube, and it's actually done by rabbis and stuff in the temple and the synagogues and stuff in Jerusalem. If you're interested in learning Hebrew, I can send you the link.
Yeah, I already learned biblical Hebrew.
So, okay, cool. Did you learn it through the same ones?
No.
That's awesome. Oh, okay. Where did you learn it from?
From an actual rabbi, not YouTube. So, yeah.
No, it's a synagogue that does it. It's a rabbi who teaches it.
Yeah, YouTube.
I think that's like the best thing to do. You would want to go to where
it could be my grandpa. He sometimes makes YouTube videos where he pretends to be a rabbi and he just teaches people gibberish. My grandpa's weird. So are you sure it's like an actual rabbi, or is it my grandpa? Because, he needs to get...
Something tells me that your grandpa doesn't actually do weird Hebrew videos and you're just using that to be condescending.
Nah.
Okay, let's not bicker. Let's talk about the facts of what's been laid out.
Okay, so sorry.
It's kind of ironic because you were extremely condescending to him because he hadn't read the Book of Enoch, but whatever.
Oh, no. If I seemed condescending to you about the Book of Enoch, not you, whoever that person is, but if I seemed condescending to you about the Book of Enoch when I asked if you had read it, totally didn't mean to at all. I just wanted to know if you had read it, because you said that nowhere in the Bible does it explain math or.
No, I can't. I can't. Nope, can't do it. Nope, nope, can't do it. Nope.
Fuck. Damn it. I came up with I was gonna ask her.
It's like watching that episode of The Office where Michael kisses what's his name? Like, it's funny, but you keep watching it and it's like, it's too cringe. I have to turn away.
Not completely fair. Honestly, I was just gonna ask her how she can rationalize like the Bible saying the wages of sin is death, and yet death somehow clearly preceding sin in the fossil record and everything else. But yeah, never mind.
Well, different people have different interpretations of what it means. Maybe it's allegorical. Maybe it's. I
know.
Anyways, do we agree on everything?
We probably do. So you can kick me off. I was coming up to ask her those questions. My bad.
Oh no, don't worry about it. There were so many people that wanted to jump in there, but I couldn't do it anymore. Hello? Miguel?
Hello.
What's up?
Now, we also almost agree with everything. I just wanted to ask you what you think about, how old the universe is and how long it will probably last. So what do you make of what was before and what will be after if there is now God?
The universe is about 14 billion years old. I have no opinion on befores, afters, or how long it'll last.
Okay. Yeah, that was basically because I agree with everything else. Thanks.
All right. Well, sorry for the non-answer, but well, I mean, it was an answer.
It's okay.
I needed Dan McClellan in here earlier. That would have been very instructive. Man. That was just Pyrus, what's up?
Hope you're having a good. Yeah, I love all of this thought-provoking stuff. It's very blessing because, you know what I mean, like there's not enough people actually using their brains and like trying to sift through all of this. I know it's not really at the end of the day even that important, but if the more we learn, the better off this is going to be for everybody. And like I just like that you accept opposing views. That's all.
Baby steps. Do I accept opposing views?
No. I'm not asking any question. I was just saying I'm glad that you're like willing to talk to people and like help provoke thought, which is it's a blessing because there's a lot of people not using their brains these days. So I'm just grateful, and I didn't actually even expect to get on this. So I'm a Unitarian Universalist. I don't believe in the segregation of religion. What does that mean?
It was baby steps. Sorry. Okay. Well, I mean, if we kind of, if you just wanted to like make the comment, I really appreciate the comment. I got some other people that are waiting though. Is it cool if I
absolutely
try to talk to them? All right. Sounds good. One more time, baby steps all the way across the screen. No, that wasn't a good one.
How you going?
Hi, how's it going?
Good. I just got a question. Normally, I ask some people why they become Christian or why they follow Christianity, and basically sometimes I get an answer is that like they were in the rock bottom, they hit in the rock bottom and they went to somehow they end up in the church and they start praying and believing in the church. Then all of a sudden one day they start hearing the voice to do this and go here and do that, and I start following those. I start trusting those voices. Then I start building up my life. That's how I really trust the God. And what do you say on those comments? What's your comment would be? What do you think? What could be those voice? Is just some psychological stuff, or what do you reckon?
Probably. When people bring up stuff like that, I don't debate them because I think it would be kind of. I find it to be a little bit almost unethical to try to tell somebody that something that's really important to them that they believe in. Well, okay, how do I want to say this? How do I
But
want to
I
say
don't
this?
think
I
that.
really only care about like the science and stuff like that. So when people tell me that they don't believe in science because of a religious thing, I am perfectly happy to debunk that, right? But when it comes to like stuff that's not concerned with science, like the personal value or that it got them through something, I don't sit here and be like, yeah, that was all false. I have no interest in doing that. I find that to be a little bit repulsive.
No, what I mean is, I'm not asking it's true or false, but what do you think the science or something behind it? Like I truly, it's not a god. I'm pretty sure. And but how come they end up with those? They hear those kind of voice, or I don't know. Maybe they are keep telling themselves or
Well,
something
they're
subconsciously or
primed
something.
to. I mean, people
Sorry.
are primed to believe in that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's nothing but a emotional experience and the placebo effect, and then people try to explain what the heck happened, and they fall back on things that they've been told, throughout their whole lives, and so they credit it with that, despite not really having any evidence.
All right. Oh, that should be sweet. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Hello.
Hello.
What's up?
All right. So I just had a question. What do you think about like Josephus and like Tacitus and what's his name, Pliny, like verifying like the resurrection of Jesus?
I don't believe Josephus says anything about the resurrection. He just says that this character Jesus is talked about. But none of those people lived during the time of Jesus, and they didn't confirm the resurrection. They just confirmed that they just wrote down that people believed in the resurrection, which doesn't really prove anything. I wouldn't even call it good evidence of anything.
Okay. What about like the Jewish Talmud, like that, like attributed like Jesus's, like they like they experienced Jesus's miracles or something, but like they attributed it to magic or something like that. Have you heard about that?
No.
No. All right. Well, thank you for asking my question, though.
Well, you're welcome. I did the best I could. Hi, Derek.
Hey, how's it going?
Good enough.
So I kind of just wanted to sort of agree with you here. I actually died for 5 minutes, roughly. And it was like I woke up from a nap. There was no, special wizard flying around, no angels, none of that. So I feel bad almost when people think that they're going to have this experience when I could say they won't.
Darn it.
That was really good.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Did you guys see that? Hey, what's up, dude?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, I'm fine.
Good, man. I got a question. I watched this video earlier today from this girl. She's a believer, and I don't even really know what to think about it yet because I haven't dug much into it. But have you heard of the wind-up dilemma? And I'm sorry if you've covered this in another video. It's like the galactic center, how it will spin more times than the outer spiral arms will because it's closer to the galactic center. Have you ever heard anything like that?
I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So she's saying the Earth. Is this that lady that talks about that dinosaurs aren't real in her car and stuff like that?
No, she's actually a pretty sweet girl. She's just a little out there with. She basically was saying in a video that because of the wind-up dilemma that the universe will spin, or I'm sorry, not the universe, the galaxy will spin, but because it's closer to the galactic center, it spins more, it makes more revolutions. Therefore, the spiral arms could not be as old as what scientists say they could be. They would only be like several million years old rather than like. So she was trying to make a case for creation, and I'm like,
that's
oh my
stupid.
god, I'm
Yeah,
onto this. Yeah.
that's dumb for a lot of reasons. It takes the Milky Way 200 million years to spin one time. So no, it would not only take a few million years, because those spiral, like after a few million years, would there be a detectable spiral? Yeah, but not the extreme spiral we see today. I'm not sure how old most of these galaxies that we see around us are. I don't know if they're as old as the universe is purported to be. I don't think that's really the case. So yeah, I mean, it takes 250 million years for it to spin once. We know because of observations and dark matter that a galaxy, yeah, you would think that, the middle spins faster, the outside spins, well, even if it spins in unison, the outside spinning fast, but they're disconnected, whatever, it doesn't matter. But what we've found is that the outside portions of the galaxy rotate far faster than what you would predict based off the visible matter. This is part of how we know that dark matter, whatever it is out there. It causes the outside of the galaxy to rotate faster than it otherwise would. But the other thing about this that's so incredibly dumb is, and when I wrote my book, I saw a lot of things like this with the young earth creationism is, well, science tells us that the universe is millions of years old. Therefore, it's thousands of years old. It's like, they do that over and over again. It's so dumb. It's so incredibly dumb the way they do that. So, yeah, yeah.
I was just kind of wanting to hear what you thought about it, because I'm not even sure if I'm going to respond to this girl to try to make a case, because I'm not sure she's going to freaking believe me anyways. But I just want to see if there was any more to it, or kind of approaching it in a kind of to start ripping apart her argument a little bit on that.
Yeah. So the main bullet points are, like, a galaxy like the one that's the size of ours takes over 200 million years to circle once. Right. So there's that. Dark matter causes the outside portions of the galaxy to rotate faster than you would predict just by looking at them. So that slows down the spiraling effect as well. And then the last thing is, even if this is true, it, like, the universe can't possibly be, this is the biggest thing, it can't be thousands of years old, because you can't get the degree of spiral we see with thousands of years. That is impossible. And they know it's impossible, which is why at the end they always just say, oh yeah, God made a universe that looks old but isn't. And so that's a non-explanation of anything, therefore. Well, that's why the God hypothesis is useless cope. It doesn't explain anything, because at the end of the day you have to be like, yeah, it was just miraculously done. So why did we appeal to any of the science in the first place? They're trying to they're using secular science to see doubt in secular science, and then at the end they just jump to miracle, which means there was no point in appealing to science ever at any point. So
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you answering that for me. I just an interesting question that I was like, I don't know how the fuck to answer this. So, but yeah, I'll hop on next time, man. Talk to you later.
Sounds good. What did somebody host? You are unintentionally funny. No, I try to be funny. Where did I learn all this stuff? Oh God, probably most of it on YouTube. Evolution, I don't know. Equal parts books and YouTube, and just rationalizing about it, I guess. The astronomy stuff, mostly YouTube. I have some books on astronomy, but they're not particularly whatever. I teach science for a living, and I've taught every subject. So I mean,